There is a difference between leading leaders and leading followers. A huge difference. Leaders are more difficult to lead, but you need leaders, not just followers. So, how do you lead leaders? I want to talk to you about it. Hi, my name is Matt. I'm a pastor in church ministry, and I've started this YouTube channel, Pastor to Pastor, developing and encouraging those of you who feel this call of God to lead in the church or lead in the community on a missions project. Whether you're on staff or you're a volunteer, I want to speak into your calling and share with you what I've learned of how you could be more effective in your pastoral ministry. And one thing you're going to need if you want to level up your leadership and expand your impact is you need leaders. And yet leading leaders is very different than leading followers. Oh, it's a completely different mindset. It's a skill set that I've had to learn. A pastor taught me that. I was getting ready to launch a church, and he said, you know, you've been a great leader of followers. The people love you, they respect you, and you've had great impact. But to go to the next level, to launch a church, you're going to have to get better at leading leaders. And he said, Matt, leading leaders takes a very different skill set than leading followers. Well, I put that in the back of my head and I moved on, but it took me 7 years of pain and frustration and failure to figure out how do I effectively lead leaders without frustrating them or chasing them off. See, I think we call a lot of people on our team or our staff leaders. You're leading this ministry. You're in charge of that ministry. You're on staff as the leader. But if you really look at what some of them are doing, they're not truly leaders. And maybe they are doing great work. And I'm not saying that followers are less than leaders. In fact, we need great people to implement and to run the play and be productive. A lot of people that have specialty gifts are great people to have on your team to help follow the plan. But I want to give you a picture of what leading followers looks like. That it's kind of like an army general leading the soldiers. My son's in the Army. And so the Army is very good about having clear authority, positions, roles, process, and procedure. And the Army general says, here's the play, run the play. Here's your requirement. Here's how to do it, when to do it. When I say go, you go. And the great thing about that is the soldiers say, yes, sir. And they go do it. And so leading in a Army general to soldier, I'd call it a command and control environment, as Stephen Covey says, is very productive. It's clear, it's fast, it's just do the play and you can depend on it. The challenge, though, of always leading in a command and control mindset is the leader has to do so much. The leader has to figure out the resources. The leader has to solve the problem. The leader has to communicate over and over and then verify, hold accountable. The leader has to remind. The leader has to always take the initiative. Nothing happens unless a leader says something should happen here. The leader has to motivate the people because sometimes it's go charge the hill, fight the enemy, take the ground. And motivation works well, but it drains people after a while. I heard a story of a city manager a few years ago in Louisiana, where that's a place where a lot of hurricanes and storms come. And he had to rally all the city officials and even some volunteers to put up sandbags. And he said, we're going to put all these sandbags up all around this area 4 feet high. They're like, oh, that's awful work. You can't make us do that. He says, well, if we don't do that, the hurricane is coming 16 hours from now and it may flood the city. And all of a sudden, the people got it. Oh my goodness, they were out of fear starting to quickly do the work. He properly motivated the team to do something they didn't want to do. And I motivate all the time, but motivation is draining to people. It depletes people, and it certainly takes a lot of energy from the leader. While I have to motivate sometimes myself and others, I prefer inspiring people. See, inspiring people says, I want to speak to what you already have in you. And I want to inspire that. In fact, the word inspire means an outside force that moves something that's already in you to move. Oh, that's much better. When you inspire someone, you're not telling them to do what they don't want to do. You're inspiring what's already in them, and you're getting that fire stirred up, which can be scary. Fire can burn. Fire can be awful, especially with a passionate, driven leader. So the second picture I want to paint for you that relates to how a leader leads a leader is not the general to the soldier. It's the coach to the player. One of my favorite teams in basketball was the Chicago Bulls in the 90s. Michael Jordan, the GOAT. He's great. He won 3 championships, took a break, and came back and won 3 more championships. But he was hard to lead. Previous coaches couldn't help him and the team get to the playoffs, finals, and win the championship until this one quiet coach named Phil Jackson came to the team. And Michael Jordan had won MVP of the season. He had won scoring titles. He even won the Defensive Player of the Year. He had played the Olympics. And he was the great Michael Jordan, but he was frustrated because he and the team couldn't get past other teams, better teams. So Phil Jackson started to ask Michael Jordan a question. He said, Michael, you've won the scoring title, but you haven't won the world championship title. Do you want to win the world championship title? And Michael Jordan says, yeah. He said, well, it may mean that you have to not score as much and you need to pass more. Of course, Michael Jordan thought, well, my team can't score like I can. I get so frustrated. But Phil Jackson kept on saying, Michael, you're the best, no question. But there's a role for you to score, but there's also a role for you to lead. And if you would just, he started to suggest, just pass the ball to other people. Of course, their first championship was against the Los Angeles Lakers, my team, against Magic Johnson. But Magic Johnson and the team were a better team, I think, than the Bulls, except that Michael Jordan finally started to listen to his coach, sacrifice personally, not scoring, to pass the ball. And the most iconic play is that the last shot, which normally Michael Jordan would shoot, he passed the ball to John Paxson, who shot the basketball, and he won and beat my Los Angeles Lakers. This is a picture of how leaders can lead leaders. Phil Jackson asked questions and let the leader struggle and process. It took patience on the coach's role to let Michael Jordan fail and figure it out until finally he said, okay, I'm willing to listen to the coaching and test and pass the ball. And because of it, they won the first championship and they won 6 championships. While we need followers to implement and integrate and run the play, you're going to need a couple of leaders. But leaders are more like a Michael Jordan, where they're the best, they have an agenda, they're hard on everybody else, they're hard to lead, and you can't command and control them. You can just inspire them by saying, you want to win a championship, right? Well, if you would do these things, maybe you can get there. Let me help you get there. I love that at the end of Michael Jordan's career, they were talking about moving Phil Jackson off the team. And Michael Jordan told the Chicago Bulls, he said, if Phil Jackson goes, I go. And Michael left. That's because he finally bought into this very wise coach, Phil Jackson. If you want to be a leader of leaders, don't think like a general command and control. Think like a coach that you inspire. You ask questions. You're patient with the process of them growing and learning. And now you can harness the greatness of those true, driven, high performance, high competitive leaders that you need on your team. Because here's the deal. When you inspire your leader, now you don't have to problem solve. You don't have to motivate. You don't have to find the resources. You don't have to remind. You don't have to dictate. All you do is inspire, guide, and get out of the way and give them the ball. There's a difference between leading leaders and leading followers, and leaders are hard to lead. But if you can learn to lead through asking questions, being patient, being supportive, and inspiring what's already in them towards the same goal that you both share, you're going to go farther faster because you're leading through leaders. Hey, subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching my Pastor to Pastor YouTube channel, and let me know of what stood out to you in this talk today.